you feel about it? It's pretty good. Pretty darn good. There are only tiny little things that I'm going to be able to point out that might improve the playthrough. On the bright side, you played with a lot of confidence. Excellent. You knew your fingerings really well, so you could keep focused on the sheet music if you needed to. That's great. There are some places where I would disagree with your fingerings. However, if your teacher told you to use this finger on that string, absolutely do what your teacher says. And for anyone else here, this is a thing that I talk about with a variety of subjects. So, is that here? Wow. Hi. Hey. Welcome. Please come in.
Yeah, come in. Take this one.
When you are taking a lesson from someone, you're paying them for a lesson, make sure you have a teacher that you trust, that's qualified and has your best interest at heart. When you find that teacher or coach for music or sports or martial arts or as a religious guide, if you trust them, then you hire them, and then you do exactly what they say. And you can ask them why. If you're doing martial arts class in Asia, don't ask why, you just do it. But when you have a teacher that you trust, do exactly what they say. Also works if you need a lawyer, an accountant, etc., a plumber. Find one you trust and then let them do their job. And if they say, oh, don't flush the toilet for 24 hours, don't do it. So, that being said, in music, you have a teacher that you trust. There's a reason why they're giving you certain instructions. Do that thing. If the teacher says, well, it doesn't really matter, then I strongly recommend that you look at what the editor of the book says and look at the fingerings in there. Kevin Johansson once told me to stop making up my own fingerings. He said, I can make up my own fingerings when I got my doctorate degree. And I took that as a personal challenge, but I haven't even got the master's yet, so we'll just see. But the point is, someone's already figured this out for you. Someone really experienced. And there's no point in reinventing the wheel. So, those things being said, I'm going to critique some of your fingering choices. And I'm going to tell you why I would do it differently. Would you please start here at the beginning? Stop. Right there. You do a position change that's unnecessary. And when you're doing classical guitar, oftentimes the finger choice and the position changes and all that are tied into if it's going to be really smooth. Like, for example, you guys all know this, but I'll use it as an example because you know this. If you're playing, and you've got your fingers pretty much locked in this position, and then the music calls for this finger right here, sometimes that's just easier for people with smaller hands to reach, or just for people that play all day long to reach, instead of having this finger play right here. The one finger per fret rule is a great idea, but there are times when, to get a really smooth transition, you're going to put two fingers at the same fret. And very rarely you're going to cross those over. We can talk about that more. But my point is, when you're going for that high A note, and forgive me, I would reach out with that finger. If you're accustomed playing second position, I would fret the G with the second finger. And the difference between these two fingers, all guitarists learn to make these fingers be stronger, right? They're weak fingers, especially if you're right-handed. Who's right-handed? If you're left-handed, you have an advantage over the rest of us mere mortals. So then you're going down here. That's not that far of a stretch for an adult. And that's going to be more smooth. But putting a stretch between these two fingers is a really good idea because it's a bigger stretch available there. They're stronger fingers too. So, if I were doing that, and if your teacher did not give you instruction on how to finger that, and if the sheet music here doesn't have fingerings, which it does not, then I would say that that would be a good choice right there. And you'll see fingerings like this. Oftentimes when we're playing the guitar in a variety of styles, I will resist the urge to get a pick out of my pocket. That's a pretty big stretch. That's all fine. That's a big stretch, and that's a big stretch. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. You're going to see it periodically. That's one place. And then that happens a couple of times in the piece.
Yeah.
Would you please start playing the pickup right here or right here on beat 1?
Wait.
Yep. And right there you have that same thing.
Yeah.
That little pause while you reposition that finger is not as legato or connected as it could be. And if you use different fingers right there, and it's not a big deal to stretch this finger out as far as it'll go, and then scoop your hand the last half inch. But you could also do it with these fingers. There are applications for both. Yep. And then, oh man, I love this part. Please play this part. Great, keep going. Here, I would suggest that you go for a timbral difference with your right hand. Timbral meaning changing the timbre or quality of tone. And you know several techniques for this probably already. And all you need to do is, pump to cello. Pont on the bridge. Cello, I don't know, some big violin instrument. But that's the thing, towards the bridge. Okay. And different places on the guitar are going to have a different kind of quality. Right in here is your default place to play, because this is your medium kind of sound. Incidentally, if you're playing hard or with a lot of nail, it seems to me that the loudest place on most guitars is right here at the edge of the sound hole. Right about there. And the further you go, the more metallic it gets until it gets just really annoying. So you might not want to go all the way down. I don't know. My favorite place is that Dolce place over the fretboard. It sounds so beautiful. I just want to stay there all day long. But that's a different thing. Okay. Maybe one more little spot here. You're being a really good sport. I appreciate that. I think it was right through here. Can you play this section right here? See, right here you're going to have a whole, well, let me point out to these people. Talmage it is? Talmage has a bunch of challenges with not having enough fingers on the left hand. And at some point, maybe it's just me, but I'm assuming that at some point everyone's had this fantasy that they were that kid that had the extra finger sticking out of their hand and that they could use it. Unfortunately, that's just a fantasy. Usually when there's an extra finger, it's a birth defect and it's not usable, much to the chagrin of guitarists that just need that extra finger. So the left-hand finger choice, when you start getting to more dense chords, is going to be very critical to what's coming next. Please go back to right here and start playing through there. And even if I start talking, just keep playing. Stay on the fingertips. Unless you're going to bore right there with that finger, stay on the tips. Yep. It'll sound better and louder if you can keep them on the tips. There are times when we collapse the fingers down, but not very often. But it's a huge bad habit for young people and old people. Experienced players love to do it. Tons of bad habits that I still do because I just want to relax on the couch. Yeah, I know. But if you want to practice properly and well, then you got to pay attention to these things. Keep going. Do you see where you are right there? Phrase again. Start with your fingers where you have them, right here. I know it's a muscle memory thing there. I think you could untangle that a little bit with the help of your teacher. Either by employing this finger instead of that slide, or by starting with these two fingers. But we have to really dissect what comes before I can make a hard and fast judgment on that. But pretty much we're trying to get the fingers to line up so that every move we make allows the finger that you need for the next thing to prepare early, if possible. And that happens all the time in classical guitar repertoire because you're trying to get this beautiful legato sound from everything, and the guitar is fighting against you the whole way. And if you can get the right finger there, you can prepare early, and everything will sound more connected. And that's everything I was going to say to you, Talmage, about that, other than I really respect you for coming here today. Because, man, it takes a lot of courage to come in and have some weird old guy tell you that you're playing, whatever. So I respect that you have the courage to come here and submit yourself to this critique and all of that. And so that's fantastic. Okay, let's give Talmage one more hand right here.